starting a new recording. And first of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining. We have 81 people in the audience, and that's a nice number. Not all the validators are here, but I think a great deal of early supporters and have joined recently are with us. We'd like to thank you for your support, continuous support. I'm here just to help the team prepare what they want to share with us and to somehow to the stage. We have some great topics today. We have the very anticipated phase 5 taking phase 4 that this session, and of course a topic that is very important on MultiversX that I'm sure many of you are waiting for this. It's governance, right? And it's a topic that I think crypto talk. He said we're gonna go full circle with this one. So I don't know if you guys remember, after staking phase 3, blog posts started Aaron.com back in Road to Decentralization. And a new staking provider joins the ecosystem, and a new one, and a new one, and a new one. And we had huge names. We had smaller names, but powerful teams, all kinds of staking providers that joined the ecosystem. And the nodes from the foundation have decreased tremendously. And this is a clear path towards decentralization. And governance is a next key feature that the team working to implement. And we have a great summary here today. So without further ado, I think the first one that's going to speak is going to be Adi on staking phase 4. Let me just
I think it's Robert first on the governance part.
Yeah, I've seen his face, but I was supposed to be first. Thank you, Robert, for being here with us tonight. The stage is yours.
Hey everyone. Hello Eddie. Happy birthday. And yes, you were the first. We are the second. So as you know, and we have posted a few times, we want to start experimenting with governance directly for the launch of RC 1.6. Governance is it has multitude of steps in a process. In general, you will have an off-chain process and an on-chain process. And an on-chain process is only the last one. That's the only one in which you actually have to vote. But they are like a lot of interesting things which happened before. And in order for that to happen, we have to have like a platform in which we can work. And this platform will be called Agora. Agora is, it will be a forum in which you can log in with your wallet. Logging in with your wallet, it's only in order to check the e-gold you have staked. And you need a minimum of 1 e-gold to be staked in order to communicate on the Agora. You can watch Agora and see the things, but in order to write something, you need to have 1 e-gold. And then in this kind of forum, we will talk about everything regarding governance and not only. So Agora is, let's put it this way, it's an organized forum in which people can discuss ideas in an organized form and in a form which stays. It's not only like in Telegram where you write and everything disappears, or not disappears, but it's up there and nobody saws. In governance, people will think about what they write, why they write. And then here, I don't know how many of you have joined the X Exchange Agora as well. There have been like feature requests, proposals of changes, not only from the team, but from the users or from other persons as well. And there opens up a lot of ideas, a lot of discussions. And for especially for RC 1.6, in the case of the governance, we will describe all the new features RC 1.6 will be which we want to go live, and then on the post we can discuss it, and we will have an on-chain governance vote somewhere in October. And the idea will be to go with RC 1.6 live or not. I hope everybody here wants to go live. Nobody, but it will be a great thing to vote on, as RC v1.6 brings a lot of new things, and it brings the prerequisites for staking phase 4. One of these prerequisites is multi-key, because with multi-key we can help smaller and bigger validators to somewhat even out the field, as it will be easier to manage your nodes. You do not need to have so much knowledge about that, but that's another topic. So we have the governance forum where we can post things, discuss things, and when, for example, you want others to join your governance in the forum, you want to join others, you want others to write to you or write on your ideas, it would be nice, for example, not mandatory, but you could put your link in, for example, in the perspective of validators in the Validators channel, or you could put it on Twitter and tag a few people there and start discussing. So on how especially will work the governance for v1.6, we will use the snapshotting mechanism. The same snapshotting mechanism we use for launchpads, and we have built a contract in which you can vote through Merkle proofs with what stake you have. But in order for for smart contracts, they really can't necessarily vote, but smart contracts can, let's say, delegate their votes. So we went over with all the liquid staking smart contracts, Salsa, Vesta, Hatom, Jewel, and discussed about how they can give us the list of users and their snapshot of tokens by checking SEGLD, for example, at the users or other kinds of methods, and we built a big tree out of this, and then every user will have his own voting power, and then you will be able to vote with yes or no, even with your staked EGLD tokens. When we go live with RC 1.6, we will have the on-chain governance mechanism. The on-chain governance mechanism will be a smart contract at the level of metachain. The metachain can read the staking values, staked and delegated values of all the contracts which exist on the metachain. So users can come and vote simply. But not only that, as we see that smart contracts have delegated, like liquid staking smart contracts especially have delegated into the contract, what we see is that we offer an endpoint for them and also a module on the Rust framework, which means delegate vote. Not the delegate vote you would see in other systems where the user delegates his vote to the staking provider for him to vote. No, here every user votes, every staking provider votes with his own stake. In this case, the smart contract can delegate vote to a user. So in terms of, for example, legacy smart contracts, the legacy smart contract will check how much stake a user has in his own contract and call delegate vote this kind of stake to this user. So the user will vote still with this. The same kind of module can be used on Vesta, Salsa, Atom, liquid staking contracts. They can implement all these things, but this will come with RC 1.6. For like general governance process, where somebody wants improvement proposals to be implemented or stuff like that, first he has to start on the forum. He can make a formal proposal in such a way that others can easily read, and then he needs to gain some attention on it. Attention by tagging people here and there, requesting, let's say, feedback on that. When, let's say, you go all over the process and you see that there is interest in such a thing you want, you can open up a governance call on chain. It will cost, right now what we think about, it will cost 1000 EGID, but this is the deposit. And then if the vote goes through, then you get back all your tokens. If the vote goes vetoed, only in case of veto, you will lose a percentage of that as fee. This is in order to not have any kind of like flooding of proposals. In general, what we as the core team, MultiversX Labs, will do is that for every release candidate which brings in new improvements which may improve the state of the blockchain and may integrate, for example, new enable epochs, we will make a governance call as we did with RC 1.6 with all the features listed, explained, and all the PRs associated. Although there are other types of things in which, for example, governance doesn't necessarily get involved. For example, if we have a critical problem we have to update, we will go the currently normal process where there is a validator calls to upgrade their nodes, and if they upgrade their nodes, we consider that it's okay, but it's for the safety of the system, and it's only for like critical things. Or like for maintenance update, when we see new libraries, new optimizations, which reduces the cost of running your node, especially in terms of networking, in terms of state, in terms of processing, then a simple validator calls in which we explain these kind of things and we make the update would be sufficient. For all others, there is like the full process of going into the forum with the discussion, 10 days of voting period, and after the result, we will decide the activation epoch of the new release candidate and update all those things. More than this, the Agora will open up section, for example, for MultiversX improvement proposals. Improvement proposals will mean that even you and us as the MultiversX team will start there to discuss ideas even which are at the research phase in order to get the feedback from the community and to have a discussion around it. Maybe the community will give us better ideas and to evolve, and from there we will evolve into a governance call. Governance call will be made only when, for example, there is a working testnet of that feature already alive, so pretty late on the process. And we are welcoming everyone to interact with these kinds of MultiversX improvement proposals, as they can enhance communication between others, and we can enhance faster whatever the whole ecosystem. Um, the Agora platform will be open in a few days. We have to resolve one more thing on that. And it will open with the full documentation of the Sirius release, which is RC 1.6, with the rules and regulation. You will be able to join it through the login with wallet and post and discuss there everything. So I think that's for me, and everybody is here for taking phase 4. So Adi, you have the mic.
Yeah, thank you, Robert, for the introduction. Um, Again, it is really important to move forward with the governance call for RCV 1.6. I think Julian also mentioned in the last call the features that will come, including one which we rely on for staking phase 4, which is the multi-key. So yeah, as soon as the Agora will be live, which shall happen in a few days, I guess, we will start the discussion. And as Robert mentioned, probably in October the voting will happen. Hopefully, we will have finished also the on-chain voting by xDay, but we'll see how it goes. Now, I have some notes here. It's not a proper presentation, but I think it will help the discussion. Let me try to share my screen.
In the meantime, I see lots of productive conversations in the chat. Questions are asked: when will Agora be live, and how important is governance over staking phase 4? Good stuff. And Julian has mentioned that multi-key is on testnet, so you guys be sure to test it out before it comes out.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Eddie. So can everyone see my screen? Yeah, I guess so.
Actually, just some dots loading.
Exactly.
Oh, is it?
Not working yet, Adi.
Okay. I wonder why.
There's maybe you use a Mac.
No, I'm on a
Macs
Dell
tend
right
to
now, but
Macs tend to work, Eddie. Just for context, joking.
They're very protective of, you have to sign and get this version of the signature that, hey, I do want to share my screen.
Indeed.
okay.
Indeed.
Is it now? Maybe.
Not yet. Let me
Still
see.
not.
There's.
I see an
It says
exclamation mark.
Okay, I can see it in the preview, but okay, then let me. Okay, sorry for this, Eddie. Maybe you
If you.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Go
share
ahead.
something. If you share with me, maybe I can try to
Yeah,
share
yeah,
it
yeah.
with you
Please,
for you.
please do. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
If
I will do it
can
like
you
this.
take me?
Yeah, I will send it to you.
Amazing. I'll be your pointer. Remote. Let's do this.
Okay, maybe just a slideshow.
Yes, just a second. Just opening now.
Yeah, I'll test it first next time.
Slideshow. Maybe if I can.
You just
It's
No.
on the top.
Definitely. I'm just opening it in a window such that I can still use my screen in the same time. Just a second. Share your screen. Okay. Seems like I'm not allowed to. Interesting. Maybe. I have a link for you, Eddie. Do you have the option available? Or I need to maybe run some
Can somebody send it to me?
Yeah, sure. Let me share the screen right away. Send the link. Just, can you? Let's see. Does it work?
Okay.
Oh, I think I can also share my screen now. Someone allowed me. Whoever did that, I'm very grateful for that. Just a second.
It was me. Hi.
Just a second.
Adi, I've requested access to the document so I can share it.
Oh, you don't have access. Okay, let me give it to you.
See, does it work now?
Yeah, it works on Lucian's
Yeah.
screen.
I'm back. I'm back.
I can see it.
Amazing. So
Okay,
sorry
great.
for the delay.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, as I was saying, I think before going into details on what happens on staking phase 3, we need to, on staking phase 4, we need to revisit what is the current system that we have live. So you all know that we have direct staking, so you are able to stake directly from your wallet. You need at least 2,500 e-gold, and you can register nodes. But this type of staking does not accept or does not allow delegations from someone else other than the wallet that has originally staked. So this was the initial staking we've implemented. And also on top of that, we have the legacy delegation, which is a contract in Rust deployed on Shard1. It's executed by the WASM VM, and this one is accepting delegations. For that, we have the MultiversX Foundation as the contract owner and as the node managers, let's say, or the ones controlling the nodes. If you go on the next one, there's also the staking provider, which came later, I think. I'm not sure if it was the 3 or 3.5 version, where we introduced the staking providers. And basically, these rely on smart contract template, which is the same for all staking pools and staking providers. But then you can set several parameters which are configurable, and these are per instance. So when you launch your own staking pool, staking provider, you get to choose these parameters, for instance, the fee, the delegation cap, and so on. And for this one to work, you would need 1,250 e-gold to start the staking pool. The particularity of this contract is that this is a system smart contract and it lives on the meta chain as opposed to the other one, the legacy delegation. And now, in addition to this, we also have liquid staking solutions, which are built on top of the either the direct staking or the staking pools. Yeah, you can go further. Other system parameters that define our current staking model is the active nodes. So we have as a network parameter or system parameter a minimum of 1,920 nodes, which allow us to hold the 3 execution shards and 1 notarization shard and still be able to do shuffling, which is important for the security of the network, and a maximum of 3,200 nodes, which would mean 400 nodes eligible per shard and 400 nodes waiting in the waiting list of each shard. I'm not sure which version we introduced the staking queue, but the idea for this staking queue was to allow other nodes to enter the system and have a smooth, let's say, transition between the new nodes and the nodes that are participating in consensus and having to keep the order of the registered nodes in order for them to enter the active set of nodes. So for all the nodes that are above the maximum 3,200, we are using, for example, the unjailed nodes go into the staking queue as well. This is how it currently works. And we have, let's say, the rules of getting into the staking queue from unjail. There are 2 rules. Either it's your first time getting unjailed, where you get the chance to move in front of the queue, or if it's a subsequent unjail for the same node, then you get at the end of the queue. Now you can move to the next slide. So the jail nodes, you can only become jailed while in the eligible, while being eligible due to not participating in enough consensus rounds. And the most, let's say, most of the time it happens because the node is offline or there was an issue with the binary and it could not participate in the consensus. And for the unjailing of the node, you need to pay right now 2.5 e-gold to unjail. And as I mentioned before, there are the 2 rules. First unjail, you get to the front of the queue, and the subsequent unjails, you get to the end of the queue. About this, did you want to mention something, Eddie? I guess not. About the staking rewards, which are also part of the staking model. Of course, the inflation is currently used for the block rewards together with the transaction fees. The number of blocks proposed are also give part of the reward, because each proposer or each leader of the consensus gets 10% of the transaction fees for those blocks. And then it depends also on the number of blocks you've validated, but statistically this evens out between the eligible nodes. And then it depends, the staking rewards depend also on the base and top-up rewards, which are used, or the base and the top-up stake. Sorry, I think it was a mistake in the presentation. The amount of the top-up stake and the base stake. The base stake, as you know, it's 2,500 is the minimum stake allowed per node, and then everything else goes on the top up, and it also earns reward. But in contrast with the base rewards, these tend to be a bit smaller. Um, we can go on the next one. What is relevant to the staking and happens at epoch change. This is the moment when the nodes get jailed, the ones that did not participate enough in consensus. They also get removed from the active set of nodes, together with the nodes that have been unstaked. And we have some, let's say, constraints in the system over how many nodes inside one shard can get jailed and removed from the set during one epoch. So this parameter is 80 per shard. And then we have another thing that happens at the end, or the epoch change, which is the shuffling of the of 80 at most 80 nodes from the eligible set of nodes per shard. So we have this constraint here that the shuffled out plus the jailed plus the unstaked eligible nodes inside the shard can needs to be equal to 80 nodes. Then we have these nodes that are being removed from the active set of nodes. These nodes get replaced with the nodes waiting in the waiting list of the same shard. So if we removed 80, then the next 80 from the waiting list of that shard will replace them. And then we get this staking queue. And we select out of that staking queue if there were nodes removed from the active set. Only then we get to select out of this staking queue and replace the removed active nodes. Okay, so if there are no nodes removed, either through jail or unstaking, then we don't get to select any nodes from the staking queue. Of course, the shuffling that is happening of these nodes is a random distribution of these shuffled out nodes, a random distribution of all these nodes between the existing shards, so between the 4 shards, in such a way that the waiting lists for each of the shards become balanced. So we don't end up with 400 nodes in one shard waiting list and 100 in another shard's waiting list. Now moving forward, yeah, you can move to the next slide, please. You can probably already see the problems, and we've discussed about this since a long time ago. The main problem is that it is hard for new validators to enter the system because you need others to leave first. And even if you would say that, okay, I'm waiting in this staking queue until someone leaves or until someone gets jailed, it is not, you don't get any return for the staked e-gold in the staking queue. And the effects are that it somehow limits the amount of staked e-gold in the network. Also, we don't get the same growth that we could have with new validators joining and contributing to the ecosystem. And there is an incentive to perform better, but this incentive would be even more in a more competitive ecosystem. I just mentioned I think the most obvious ones. Of course, there are other effects and also other problems with the current model, but not this. I guess these were the main ones. Now moving forward to, I think the staking phase 4 is next. Oh no, this is an infograph created by Pusset and EPS. I'm not sure if they're in the call right now. So everything that I've mentioned in regards to how the system is currently working is also it fits into this infograph. You can take a look afterwards um, on it. Thank you, Puset and EPS, for this. There's also another one which will explain how it will behave, or at least with the proposal that we are coming now. So I want to stay on that one, but moving forward, um, what were the main ideas behind staking phase 4? So as I mentioned, we needed to solve those problems, to remove the gatekeeping for new validators, to make the system more accessible and at the same time predictable, because right now you cannot predict when you can enter the active set of validators if you have queued your validator. Of course, as Eddie also mentioned before, we had from the community validators, or the community nodes, gradually removed almost every month or so, a set of nodes, just in order to not make this problem so obvious. But of course, we all knew that that's the problem. We tried to alleviate it through gradually unstaking the nodes. But now we need to move forward and make it more accessible and predictable. Yeah, I think Lucian wanted to mention something. You can go ahead, Lucian. You can.
Thanks, thanks a lot, Adi. Maybe one point adding to the main ideas here, which I think is missing, is maybe a more even and fair reward distribution over the incentives, which should result in better and more even APRs for the delegators, right? Right now, there are people, maybe just giving a bit of context, there are validators, which again we highly appreciate and respect ever since the beginning. There are also very specific features which have been carried on since the very beginning through all the staking versions, similar to first time being jailed, getting on top of the queue, and similar other features like that, which have encouraged the network. However, at this point, there are, for example, validators that are still running with the minimum amount stake, where compared, for example, to the ones that went unlimited, there are community or delegators that are joining now at the later stage, but they cannot benefit even at the later stage with a fair distribution or a fair similar rate as the ones that entered earlier. So this is some sort of a flaw in the current model, which is, I think, by staking phase 4 is also going to be addressed indirectly. That's it. I'm sure. I'm curious, Eddie, how do you see this? If this touches as well this kind of problem?
I'm not sure if it was for me or for Eddie, but I'll go forward with. Yeah, that was actually part of the first one. As I mentioned, there is a sort of gatekeeping for the new validators that want to enter, because you cannot enter if no one else is leaving. And as Lucian mentioned, there is no so you can still keep your seat. Currently, you're not forced to leave the network. You can keep your seat with the minimum stake, or there are others who have a lot of top up as well. Yeah, I think Lucian covered it well. And now going about how do we solve those problems? Also keeping the main ideas in mind. So just a very high level overview. Of course, we will go into details in the coming discussions and in the QA as well. So there are a few steps where staking phase 4 will become active in its full, let's say, features. Full feature. I think we need 2 or 3 epochs in total to activate the full capability. And this, as a first step, the staking queue will be replaced with a different structure, which we called an auction list. And this one will always maintain the nodes in the auction list, sorted based on the nodes top up, not on the timestamp of staking those nodes. And at the epoch change, a sort of soft auction, we call it, will happen where the best 320 nodes from the list are randomly distributed to the waiting lists at that point of every shard, the waiting lists of every shard at that point. Now, in order to because previously the shuffling happened between the eligible and the waiting lists. Now the shuffling of the nodes at the end of the epoch, so the shuffle out of the nodes, this was the shuffle in. The shuffle out of the nodes will happen not between the eligible and the waiting list, but between the eligible and the auction list. So at the end of every epoch, the nodes that get shuffled out will reach this auction list. This is the current proposal. We'll get into this auction list. Then, as I mentioned previously, the auction will select the best 320 nodes from the auction list and distribute it randomly to the waiting list. This is similar to what happened before, to what is happening currently, just that it's taken from a different place, not the auction list. In order to not affect the rewards model, so have as little friction as possible, we decrease the waiting lists of each shard by 80 nodes, because now in order to keep the same amount of time waiting and the same amount of time of being eligible, statistically of course, as we currently have for all those nodes that have, let's say, the average of the network as top up. So those nodes that will have around the average of the network as top up will not see any difference with their staking rewards, with the amount they are the amount of time they are eligible and the amount of time they are waiting. For them, it would be just like before. And now there's also the change with the unjailing. The unjailed nodes move to the auction list, and there's no longer jump the queue, because the auction list is, as I mentioned, ordered by the top up. I think there's another and we can leave it at that. The next one, this also from Poussette and Apius. This shows, I think, the movements of the nodes, what happens at the end of epoch. And you can see here the part with the waiting state and the eligible state is not changed at all. Only the part with the auction list, which replaces the staking pool and its interaction with the jailed state. This is what happened. So if you want to compare those two, I would look into this area. Before going to the questions section. I think Robert can come and talk a little bit about some constraints that we need to come to consensus on.
Hi everyone, I am back. I hope my camera is back as well. So the idea is that with staking phase 4, as you see, we open up, let's say, a more equal space for everybody. Like there is no more waiting on the waiting queue, and there is an auction of which of the validators are selected every time, in which they get selected from, let's say, the auction list into the waiting list. This means that you actually, once you are selected in the waiting list, you know that you will be part of working group for at least 4 or 5 epochs, and then when you will get out, then you have a new selection process. What you have to consider in these directions, and the easiest things for you, for a developer to do, is to calculate your number of nodes and the total stake you have. What you have to consider that the number of nodes, your number of nodes versus your total stake has to be roughly the same as the global number of nodes per total stake. So right now, it's actually a total stake per number of nodes. So right now it's 17.5 million on 3,200 nodes. On the staking phase 4, you compute this and you will get to see how much EGLD per node you have. So if you have too many nodes in your delegation contract or your staking providers, you have to remove them. If you want to add more and you have more, you can add them, and then everybody can see. It's like the idea, and from reward perspective and all perspective, the idea is to be like around the average, and if you are around the average, you are fine. You will be selected, you will work. So that's easy in this case. But what about like limitations? And here is one of the topics we want to open up with staking phase 4 and with the governance which will come after we launch RC 1.6, and we will discuss about this. You see, the Nakamoto coefficient is pretty important in the whole ecosystem. So decentralization is something we must aim for. Even if this means that somebody who is big has to, I don't know, so we do not want to let's say, not necessarily we as the team, but as the blockchain ecosystem as the whole does not like to see a few big players who are too big for that ecosystem. Nakamoto coefficient means how many separate entities you need to have in order to control 33% of the network. If we check right now the Nakamoto coefficient, not all the chains stay very good. For example, the Nakamoto coefficient for Ethereum is 2 because the Lido liquid staking got too big. It's almost at 1 because they are at 32% and something. They are like really too big if we consider decentralization. And if we look around, all the chains are like in relatively low numbers, and we want this number to be, let's say, a little bit more higher. The Nakamoto coefficient to be bigger. What this actually means. So in the code of the staking phase 4, we introduced 2 limits: number of maximum nodes and total stake a staking provider could accept. But what does this actually mean? And what we propose is that both of these things be around 1% of the total number of nodes. Actually, this means that the Nakamoto coefficient would be, if we have 33 validators with 1%, it would be 33. As you know, need 30 separate entities. These are some numbers around which we will talk. Also, this does not mean that we will forcefully unstake anything from you, or not let the delegation or the staking contract to receive rewards. No, there's no discussion about this. The limitations would go into a thing that the big players cannot grow bigger. That would be the limitation. You would stay with the same number of nodes. If you are bigger than that, the same number of stake, you could not accept more delegations or something like that. This is only a proposal, and I know that this kind of discussions will open up the floodgates. But this is for what we have for governance and for the Agora forum to discuss. And this is something which we want to reach a consensus before releasing staking phase 4. So we have some time for it. Everybody can think about it. And we might come up with other solutions or other kinds of algorithms for, let's say, which means limiting the bigger players to leave room for the smallers. As if we have multitude of smaller players who are all building on MultiversX, as the ecosystem we are growing. And if the Nakamoto coefficient is kept at the high number, which we want to reach, everything, like everybody from the whole blockchain and crypto space will look at us with envy that, yes, those guys managed it. And yes, these kind of limitations can be attacked, as you can create multitude of service providers yourself because you have the funds. With the same funds, you could delegate to smaller entities and to make them everybody to grow together. And this would effectively mean, for the long term, it would be super beneficial for everything. And it also means that the community delegation will get lower and lower as the time goes on, and as other staking providers are joining and starting to be part of the ecosystem. And if you have too much funds or stuff like that, you can help these kinds of guys, these kinds of new staking providers, new builders to build and start their staking services and to build up things by your knowledge or via crowdfunding, or let's say all kinds of smart contracts in these directions. So these numbers, the 1%, is not like, it's not like the final number. It's a number with which we want to start a discussion, and it's a discussion. We will see what are the feedback from the whole community, and in the end it will not directly, let's say, stop the operation of your staking provider, even if you are over that 1%. It might stop a few of those, for example, receiving new delegation or redelegation or these kinds of operations, because through this we can have the others can build up as well. And we see a lot of projects who are building, and that is great. And also this is up to discussion. Decentralization in general is all about necessarily. It's a work which has to be done by everybody, by the whole community, and we have to fight for decentralization. It's like we have to fight for democracy, our rights, this kind. In blockchain, it's one of the things is decentralization, and we saw that it is a super important thing. So that's what I wanted to add in terms of limitations. Please do not hate me. We can start and continue discussions on Agora.
Um, Maybe if I'm allowed to, I do have some question that maybe will help everybody understand even better the entire process. Maybe one point with respect to the Nakamoto coefficient is not limited to 33%. It's up to each of protocol security threshold implementation. So if in certain protocols is 51%, in other is 33, and that's maybe just one specific clarification, very small detail, but overall the entire intention I think is very clear. Secondly, there will be support. I've been already vouching for this, and there have been many from the delegators community, validators, and so forth that have reached out and asked specifically to implement and work on Nakamoto coefficient implementation with preparation to before the staking phase 4. So basically, that will imply not only on Explorer, there will be a clear line. Hey, please do not. We encourage you not to delegate on those validators because if or with respect to the security of the network. And then also with that in mind, we will try to have an algorithm which will automatically shuffle and try to also make it visible and state it very specific to the users, to the delegators whenever they are choosing a staking providers and so forth, not only based on APR, but now explicitly given that we have a model that will even it should over the longer period of time even the rewards distribution. So in practice, maybe just to restate this, if everybody would have been able to generate, or if all the staking provider would have been able to generate the same staking rewards for the delegator, then what would it mean for the delegator to as a second principle? Maybe it will be not only just the APR because that's not a game. We solved that, and it should be even for everybody. But then it will matter. Okay, is this contributing to the greater good of whatever goods I'm producing, or whatever good is the network doing? Is this encouraging or doing any contribution to the network in terms of development, promoting, or whatever else uh, the validators are doing, or is at least not harmful for the protocol in any way? So that's another point that should be maybe another way of looking at things, while we're the staking for phase 4 get us towards a more fair and even distribution. I think that's maybe a um, very interesting point. Maybe I see one question also added on top that I think has not been covered. I'll ask it and not answer myself. I'll let maybe Adi and Robert answer. What happens to the nodes that are already? So assuming that we have now, we would have been launching tomorrow the staking phase 4, and those 1% limits would go live. Could you please walk us through the process on how those limits will, and I'll mute myself and let you.
How those limits will affect the existing staking providers and their stake. Okay, we don't want to affect in any way like you. This should be seamless, and this should not affect you in terms of removing your nodes. Um, the effect that you will probably see is that you can no longer register new nodes. So if those existing nodes already have enough stake for them to become eligible with the new evolving staking for context, where I would assume that the average per node will tend to go to the average of the network, then in that case, you are fine. The only problem is that in this context, you cannot grow further. you cannot grow further. And if your nodes are unstaked, then you can no longer add them if you are already above the system limits. Now, this one with the limitation of number of nodes and stake, I think this was the first thing we discussed. Of course, this one we will still discuss it on the Agora. I've seen that there's a discussion also in other ecosystems. In Ethereum, there was some discussion regarding this recently, and we were also thinking here that it might be that another model is as good as this one, because as we all know, even if we put the limitation that there is a certain maximum number of nodes allowed, you can always spin up a new staking provider, right? Then there's no longer any limit on that. But of course, you still need to push forward with marketing for your new staking provider and so on, staking pool. And this is not exactly what we want. It's not that we want to make things hard for people. And another model where, for example, there will be some maybe leveled up field. I'm not sure if this is the right term. It might be that we can consider an increase in the, or at least a proportional allowance per staking provider stake in a staking pool. So it might be that 1000 e-gold allows you up to 10 nodes, then 2000 e-gold allows you more, and so on. So this might be also for the big staking providers to, but as Robert mentioned, the idea is to make the system more decentralized. And yeah, we should try to make sure that the amount or the number of staking providers that could affect the chain is as large as possible. So only a group of more than whatever that number is for the Nakamoto coefficient could be able to stop the chain, and not one single entity or not two entities like it is right now on Ethereum.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adi. I think very well explained. Also, it's not that bad as it sounds actually for the ones that are already above the limit. So if just to restate, if I understood correctly, it's actually only if the nodes get jailed or it decides himself to unstake, but otherwise they will remain and be still elected until the top up is not enough anymore to be elected, and then it requires anyway to be removed, right?
Yeah. It won't be that the system will remove your nodes without you removing them yourself.
Yeah, but one thing that big staking providers have to understand and to look around, that if their node price per node, if their total stake per node, which actually yields in their average node price.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
So that
exactly
if
what I
the
would.
average node price, for example, you have 3 nodes which are getting shuffled out from eligible into the auction list, and then you have your 3 nodes who, with all those, so, and you have all the, for example, the average node price for all your ecosystem, like your 20 nodes with these three regards as well, is lower than the top of the auction list, the top which is selected, and these nodes are in the back of the auction list and they will not get into the work, and that the next At the next shuffling, when you have other nodes which are, for example, getting from the eligible list into the auction list, and those three initial they will not get into. Will start to get into the ecosystem only when your median node price is on the top of the auction list. So if your median node price is under the top of the under the the number it's needed, then every time your node gets shuffled out, it will remain on the auction list and it will stay on the auction list. You will get back your first nodes into the eligible only when you reglement this by staking more or by unstaking a few nodes.
Yeah, maybe to give some support to what you said. Basically, there should be uh an also a visual help on the Explorer. The same way we have for the queue, there should be some sort of a way of producing a live version of the queue where you could see that the protocol, whenever it's shuffling out, getting from the jail state to the auction list again, some other nodes, it should always update the auction list, and the total number of validators of the auction list will be some sort of sorting, decreasingly sorted by stake, by total stake, and then you'll see again a line which will tell you very clearly, hey, if you're at the end of this epoch above this line, you will get in. If you're below this line, you will not get in. And then what Robert was mentioning would mean that basically you will also see should be able to see also in practice very easily that if the total amount of stake that you're having is below that line continuously, it's not the system's fault that is not electing you. It's always other nodes that are putting more stake at work compared to the current auction list. So that also would help. Like I think this here, for example, it's also visible here in the slide here, which is shared, which is, let me just make sure that I select, which is this one. Let me see. No. This one, the red one, the red zone. If you can see here, basically there's a sorting where this explainment points to whatever to the part that Robert was mentioning.
What I wanted to add is that, for example, if you get more nodes in the auction list, even if you do not unstake some nodes, you will still be able, for example, because the system will try to put in the active set of nodes as many nodes as possible by shifting the top up to the to a smaller set of nodes. And in this way, for example, if you have 5 nodes in the auction, and none of them by itself with the base stake and top up stake would qualify, maybe just 1 or 2 would qualify if the top up is redistributed. So in that case, the system is a bit, let's say, more. I'm not sure the exact term, but would try to optimize your chances of getting into the active set, even if you don't unstake some nodes. But of course, the best chances you would get if you, for example, if you're in this situation, you might need to unstake one node and then more will qualify.
Yeah, I think definitely will just to take another point here. we should definitely, and there will 100% be a battle testing to this kind of feature. Same way we had with the delegation dashboards, with delegation running around all the staking providers. Also, we need to make sure, just to be 100% sure that this is bulletproof and stress tested as anything else, as at this point, to the current point, there was, I think, not a single delegator in the entire protocol that has lost a cent, and it was and should be one of the most secure modules from the entire network, where there should be no losses because of any kind of errors. So with respect to that, there will be and should be, as every other module before, very thorough testing involved, where you guys will be invited, and also especially we need to put a lot of effort into producing and getting the entire toolkit from Explorer wallets and so forth up to the degree that we need. We need to make it obvious and simple for you as staking providers and delegators to understand. I'll mute myself and then yeah, maybe I see Mihai, if you want to come up, or I'm not sure if Robert or Adrian, or we should move further to the Q&A.
I think we actually got into the Q&A. This was questions that you actually launched the Q&A with your self-asked and answered questions. That was great. In the meanwhile, my internet died. I'm on my phone. Thank God for LTE here. But we've seen some great questions in the chat, and many of them are answered already in chat by Radu, by Adrian, also you, Lucian. So if anybody wants to speak, I think you can request that, and you can also ask a question or make a comment live here. My 2 cents on this is the Agora will be a great place to start communication threads, because talks like these are great, but you need to put things in writing and you need to give it a lot of thought. And when you write something, you do it with a lot more care than when you say some words. So it's good to have this discussion online in a chat like this, but also not offline, in an asynchronous way in a forum. So this combination of Agora and this kind of sessions will lead to a very productive outcome, I think.
Yep, so we invite whoever wants to step up on the stage to raise his hand and say a few words.
I have some more questions for joking. When this will go live? I hear a question here in my...
As soon as possible. First, we need to move with the current release, and then the next one should be staking phase 4.
Definitely. Hopefully it... Let maybe just to add one more detail on this. Most of the times, whenever we had this kind of big releases, there we should just be very pragmatic. There's most of the time maybe some adjustment needed on different variables or parameters that the protocol introduced to with the new update, and that might be an interim release. And then the main goal is, of course, if the best case, as always, desired not to have any bugs or find anything, then the next phase would be straightforward to the next big version. Maybe can we have someone? I think we have a stage here. If you guys want to also come ask some questions as well, not only by writing, would be very cool to have you.
May I just volunteer Kevin to step up?
Oh,
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. Just I was sitting here just waiting for you to call me out. I don't really have any questions. I think my questions are obviously around the just live thing. I avoided that on purpose. But I like kind of the momentum. I like these meetings. Discord's really good. I think yeah, if we get some of this out into the Agora stuff and start talking about it a bit more actively, get something into testnet and that sort of stuff. And I guess my questions obviously are always around that cap, the 1%. I think 1% is a good starting point for sure. And more stuff around the coefficient. That's all super important. And I think, yeah, I mean, it's all in the right direction. And I don't really have too many questions per se because I'd like to see it actually in action, and in a battle of the nodes and that sort of thing. And when I'm a person who needs to touch, and I think a lot of us validators need to actually touch and experience it to actually see how it works and have a few 4-hour epochs go by or whatever it is now in testnet and just kind of see exactly what happens. And after that, I think a lot of stuff will come out saying, okay, well, this, that, the other thing, and our spreadsheets, and the Poussets of the world will be doing all the numbers. I'll be doing the numbers, and once we kind of get an idea of exactly what's going on, then those conversations in Agora, and then eventually the governance will take a huge stage. Robert, yeah, I said earlier, I'm really excited about governance, and I think that's more important than phase 4. So you said we're all here for phase 4, but personally, I think governance is huge, and this is on-chain governance thing is way more important than phase 4. Phase 4 is just another phase. You know what I mean? So we'll be voting on other things after that or before that. So good work on that as well. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. My questions are of course limited, but you guys covered a lot, and I'm really excited to see this next stage moving forward. And yeah, I'd love to see you all at xDay, but I won't be there due to family reasons, and some stuff that I have going on at home. It's killing me not to go, but maybe I'll Skype in somehow or Discord in somehow at some point. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and that's all I got. Hopefully that passes Eddie's test.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Pleasure to hear the good thoughts from you, and also very sad to hear that you're not gonna be at the Validators meetup this year. I think Eddie was taking good care of that, and I'm sure we can sort the governance out some way, one way or another, if people show up to the validator meetup. Joking, just joking on this.
Proof of beer, right?
Indeed, indeed. But yeah, back to the point. Maybe I totally agree that this is the more healthy approach with having the governance module in place. Right now, before we get there, we're gonna discuss, propose and reason around all the variables that we're introducing to the system, like this one with taking phase 4 and whatever it's for the greater good of the network. Whatever value will increase the overall security of the network, then will should pass and move forward. I see Jose. Welcome, Jose.
I didn't want them to interrupt you. I only want to say that I'm really happy to have this session, to hear all these super good ideas to improve the decentralization. It has been like a topic for the last 3 years or 4 years, I don't know. So it's super nice to be really close. I like the approach. Everything you explained, I think is pretty clear. But obviously, we will need to test it and discuss on Agora platform, which I'm looking for. And really amazing ideas. Congratulations for that. I will need to understand a bit better the multi-key topic. I'm still a bit knob on this, but I'm sure I will get it.
Definitely. I was just to touch on the multi-key node. I have actually talked to the team earlier, just a couple minutes before this call, that I think the community would be interested and excited to play around and maybe see a live demo with share screen to how to set up, walk a bit through what it can done and so forth. But what we agreed on, it could be either prior to xDay, maybe a recorded demo, as we're just getting warmed up with all the videos and tutorials for the hackathon. I think we could keep the good initiative and push this also on the same path with the multi-keynote, explain also the code library or the code repository of the node. Now also looking forward with the sovereign chains SDK, which is also included in the same code base. There should be a lot more content coming up from this kind of validator calls, not only discussing the tutorial, the variables and so forth, but also very specific features, how to make use of them at best. Yeah, in the near future, very soon. Maybe.
I totally agree, Lucian. Especially if we are aiming to a decentralized network and we want small staking providers to join the network to grow, we need to make like everything easy to set up. With especially with tutorials and documentation. I think that's a really important point, actually.
100% agree. Let's do it.
See you on xDay, by the way.
Cool stuff. Can't wait to host you and have you with us, Jose. It's been a while again.
Yeah, totally.
I see a question. Any thoughts about when Agora will be live? I think yes, please, Adrian. I'll let you.
As I mentioned, there is one thing the guys are working on. The idea was to have it this week, but since the issue they're working on is not yet fixed, probably I would expect next week to have it.
Cool. Maybe the next question is I'll take from Mihai. Is there a limit on how many nodes can be on a multi-key group? So I'll point back to Ethereum. I'm not sure, guys, how many of you are aware a bit of how Ethereum 2.0 structure look like. Maybe there's the beacon chain, there's basically the validator or the node itself, which syncs and process and keeps block by block into the state the entire updated version from the network. And then behind that one, you could basically attach almost unlimited nodes, number of BLS keys in Ethereum. Like you could actually run the entire Ethereum 2.0 network in behind one single node, right? So this is in practice because at the end you would the new structure or how the structure would work. Actually, you would not do more processing in terms of state sync or block processing, but rather just generate more signatures, right? So I think Adrian can elaborate how fast the CPU can generate signatures, especially up to this point, how fast the CPUs are. But I assume it can almost generate for hundreds of thousands of BLS keys in a couple of seconds, in a couple of seconds theoretically.
Yeah, BLS is more expensive. It's
Okay,
not
then
like
thousands at least.
it takes I would say above 1 millisecond. It I
So it would be 6,000.
It depends on your number of CPUs, what the machine supports. So you could do a lot of those, but not hundreds of thousands, probably.
But Exactly. Okay, so at least thousands, up to thousands. Thanks a lot for being very
You still need to
specific.
do other stuff. You can't consume all the CPU signing. You need also to process the transactions.
Exactly. No, exactly. 100% correct. Maybe just going back to the point now, where exactly like this kind of specific you could have in Ethereum. However, you would not want to have unlimited all the keys behind that one node, right? So in practice, that basically decreases a lot the security of the network, and you also don't want to basically put you all, how it was actually the saying, put all your eggs inside one basket. So exactly like that, this happens also with the nodes. So there is no limit itself. There's only a slightly increase, like in terms of milliseconds, by running multiple BLS keys under the same machine. However, hence the protocol limitation. I think also protocol limitation with the 1% would be a mandatory point before someone taking over the entire network with one single validator per shard, just to be very specific. Yes, so the V4 will be put at governance. Maybe Julian, if you want to come onto stage, I see that you're typing as well. Curious, I would love to have Julian as well. Maybe some other question. I let Eddie maybe moderate as well. I hope I answered the question from Mihai pretty decent to this point.
Decent enough. You're good.
Sorry, I would have going a little bit on liquid staking, as I saw that there is an question not question or an answer about Michael about like liquid staking. There is a big difference between how liquid staking works in Ethereum 2.0 versus how it works on MultiversX. As you can see, one liquid staking smart contract can delegate to multitude of smart contracts, and then it helps multitude of staking providers. It is not forced to do liquid staking into one contract only. This means that a liquid staking contract which is launched great in a way that it sends to make delegation to the multitude of contracts, then it is like it helps the network. Versus Ethereum, where you can liquid stake actually to a single pool. That is some of the big differences. So that's why liquid staking as it is right now, and we see it's not a big issue. And if we manage to keep the Nakamoto coefficient, and if we have those kinds of limit, then you will actually will force the liquid staking smart contract to delegate to those staking providers which are under such limit. So it's a win-win for the ecosystem. Only about this and liquid staking. So I think we resolve this by doing that.
Thank you, Robert, for that. Yes, liquid staking is a pretty hot topic. Drew is riding on 2% battery. I think 1% by now, so I'm gonna wave goodbye for you. It's good to plan ahead of this call because we talk a lot, so we need to get a battery van just to be ready. If there are any other questions or speakers that would like to say something, please come forward now.
We're trying to get Julian, but some way he's stuck on he cannot request. We're not managing to get him on stage by forcing him on stage. Invite sent. Let me see.
I did try to invite him, but it doesn't seem to work. Maybe it's his Discord version on Linux, right?
It's all as Linux. Good that the servers are running Linux though. Maybe Julian, if you can rejoin and just retry to send the request. Let's see if
Cannot press accept. Classic, if you want to speak instead of typing. Okay.
Well, it might be possible to get also with 2500 if the rest of the nodes in the auction list also have 2500, and you're among the first 300 with that top up, 320 nodes. In that case, you will be able to join. Otherwise, if you're below the 320 best fitting nodes that are currently waiting, then probably not.
or maybe if there are not enough nodes. So if the protocol has the deficit of less than 3,200 in total, but that's
if it has a deficit, yes, all nodes go in. Yeah.
Yeah, those are
indeed.
the scenarios where we have to code the most.
Oh, welcome,
And
Julian.
yeah, use the less.
Yeah, those scenarios that where you hope to never need to use them. Indeed, that's correct. Julian, please welcome to the stage.
Yeah, so sorry for the delay, guys. The Android app for the Discord is not quite finished, or it has bugs. I don't know. Yeah, just one small mention about the multi-key node. The recurring discussion in this evening, apparently, is that yeah, you can actually run a full chain of 300, 200 keys on only 4 nodes, and it will work. But we won't recommend this at all because, as Lucian said, the security issues are quite dangerous to be said, at least, because having only one node, it can actually perform bad, and especially during restarts, and it can roll back some blocks and effectively destroy the chain. So yes, I would go for a recommendation of, I don't know, 50 nodes per for a set of 4 nodes, maybe, or less if you can, because anyway, the economy brought by this feature for each staking provider, it's quite high. You can actually have less keys on a special set of 4 nodes running the multi-key. Yeah, so that's about it. So the recommendation is anyway around tens of keys per a squad like this for the multi-key.
And maybe for the ones that don't have redundancy or backup machines in display up until this point, you really asked for a jail. So I'm not sure how to put this, but you're literally asking the protocol to put you in jail. And we've seen everything pretty much from servers, data center going busted, burned, destroyed, fiber channel cables being eaten by all kinds of animals or machines. But if this is like you're asking yourself to get jailed, as I said, if you're not considering running a proper backup, also having now a multi-key solution.
What I wanted to add is we will keep working on new features that try to squeeze out as much as possible from the current minimum specs. So in case there is a need, we could process even more swaps per second, even more transactions per second, and so on. One of those features which I've recurrently mentioned in the last weeks, I think it's parallel processing, which we're working on. So in that case, if you overload your squads with too many keys, it may be that your performance degrades whenever there's a load. So you need I would take care to follow the recommendations. This is my point.
Definitely. Degrades is a very polite way of saying not participating in the consensus, not participating in the consensus long enough means jailed. Jailed means no rewards. And unhappy delegators. Maybe just to make it a bit more obvious. Cool. Let's see if we have any other questions.
I was going to ask a question, but I think Mihai got to it before me. And Robert already answered it, that the sharding is still in research. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's a really cool challenge. And I think you guys will find it.
Yeah,
nice
actually, we have the direction is I think is the right direction. We have implemented most of the stuff for that. Of course, there is when we will activate this, we need to set up the migration, because I'm not sure that everyone right now, if we would activate it on the mainnet, it would cause some friction through some smart contracts that interact with each other. So in that case, we might need to perform some migration preparation, let's say. But I think we have the direction. It's not. I don't see this as the thing that we need to work first, because the demand is not there yet. So as we mentioned in the original white paper, even in the first version, the network would scale with the demand. Currently, we're still waiting for the demand that will ask the network to scale. If you look on Explorer, the block space is not that filled. So we still have a long way until, even if we had it today activated on the mainnet, until we would see any effects for that. So this is why the focus right now is not on that direction, because we could make it the focus, and we would have it in months, probably. But we can benefit the network better with other features for the let's say the next period.
Totally agree with you.
Like, since the mainnet has launched, we have increased the number of transactions or operations, DeFi operations, which we can execute. The gas limit is doubled since the mainnet launch, and we'll get another increase with consensus v2. Then with parallel processing, will be increased even more and more. So optimizing right now or making improvements in current environment and seeking out every bit of piece where we can gain more and more performance with the current market, it's a better strategy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I see someone also mentioned. Sorry, Eddie. Just one more thing I will touch on. I saw someone also mentioned the costs for paying the servers. Julian mentioned before that the multi-key brings a lot of optimizations on that front for operators that have at least 3 nodes, I would say. But this would not help to have more nodes that share the same rewards in the network. This is why currently the 3200 is the network parameter. And we said that 1920 is the minimum requirement, and the maximum is this, because beyond that, it might be that it becomes unprofitable with bear markets and so on. So when there is a demand and when the fees would be relevant enough so that the network scales to even more shards, then I would see that as the triggering factor for this one.
Cool. I think should we call it a night, a day, a session, however, whatever works for you. We sing maybe one last time happy birthday to Eddie, and then we wrap the call. Joke.
Thank you, guys. Actually, this is a great start for governance, and we really push to have Agora ready for us to discuss. And I really encourage all of you guys to actually participate, because I see a possibility where the forum is launched, we have the proposal there, and people, it's very easy to sit back and leave others. Okay, I'm going to let Eddie because he speaks a lot, or I'm going to have or whoever just say things. It's very important about this and involved to give your 2 cents on that. Those 2 cents are, I think this is not okay because of XYZ. I think this is great because of ABC. So we can maybe with an invitation for everybody to just please get involved. Before that, Dr. Delphi has requested to speak, so I'm trying to get him to speak. Anybody? I see his request here.
I also tried to add him, but somehow it disappeared.
Yeah, invite to speak. Maybe
Maybe he has the same application that Julian had.
Maybe you have to leave and come back, Dr.
Yeah,
Delphi.
I bet it's Android.
For sure not.
You actually need to close the Discord, even if it's running in the background, and then you can press the accept button. It's a weird bug.
Delphi. Thank you for the wishes, everybody. My guitar, but I will not sing.
Nice one, Eddie. Oh, okay. I see Dr. Duffy coming up. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. I guess wonder Dr. Duffy is not coming to stage. No.
Impossible to press the X button. Can you try a different device?
Yeah,
Maybe
I think it's the same issue that iOS.
Oh,
Even worse.
I rest my case, Lucian.
Yeah, but you are on a laptop, so
On the bright side, you guys have USB-C. Quite an upgrade. Right.
Funny. Swipe up.
Exactly the same bug.
I see we have
For me, it worked, and I have Android.
amazing. Welcome to the stage.
And more.
Yeah, just wanted to ask you guys if we're gonna do a meetup as we did in Paris.
Yes, there is going to be one. I think it should be announced the upcoming days. I let Eddie maybe give some more updates. If not, I'm gonna organize one for you guys.
Yeah,
Definitely.
there is one. We thought of when to make this meeting, and decided to go the first day after dinner. So that's like maybe 9:30 on the 19th. And we'll just have some drinks and discuss and fight over some nodes and steak.
Drunken Lord will be fine.
Oh, we have Dr. Duffy.
Hello guys.
I will share the link. Can request an invite, okay? On the Validator chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. All I wanted to say is happy birthday to you.
Amazing. I was expecting that actually.
No, really, maybe some improvements to the staking smart contract, since it is a system smart contract. It will be only possible to upgrade it through a mainnet upgrade. But there are many things that I think that can be improved regarding it. Like, for example, if I undelegate right now 100 e-gold, and 5 days later, you, Lucian, you want to delegate 100 e-gold, maybe we can make switch places, and the 100 e-gold not to be delegated, but my 100 e-gold to get undelegated immediately, something like that, just a minor improvement, just came into my mind.
Very interesting. I think that
I will not start necessarily to debate this, but the 10-day unbonding period, it has like a lot of physiological effects.
So this is exactly, this is the same concept. Like, what about you migrate your stake? What about migrating the stake from one staking provider to the next staking provider? And this dates back to the slashing period, about having this kind of period where you can have this kind of fraud proofs or checks if the network or the network discovers anything malicious from the specific staking provider, that it should be able to still slash him. Because so if the user have moved the same stake amount without any barrier, then theoretically the stake is still in the system, but you still need to follow exactly where the money went and where to slash, right? So this is some way of a debatable problem. As Robert mentioned, is a rabbit hole, but we'll think about it. I mean, let's think it through. See if there.
The keyword here, Lucian, is debatable. So this is the perfect example for Agora. I mean, we seriously a thread over there, and we can discuss things like this. I mean, it's because we will not get to the bottom of this in a call today, but it's great to actually you and discuss this in a civilized thread in Agora, and maybe if there's a way to improve, So
Definitely, definitely.
So we
I
have
have another question.
People started to get some courage. Welcome, Levi.
No, so as most of you know me, I had a smart contract in the past, which was closed, and I've moved to another one. But I've seen that there are some funds on the old contracts, and I don't know how to uh, move those, let's say, those people from there because they stake on the old contract. And I don't know what they're doing. Or if they even open the X portal.
Actually, they need to unstake from that one and enter yours right now. That's the only way to do it. So they have to unstake from the old contract.
Got it. Thank you.
Hello, can I speak now?
yeah, hello.
Yeah, I wanted to add some continue the discussion on where Dr. Delphi left. Yeah, when he talked about the maybe on delegates and not waiting for complete 10 epochs, I think that's something that can be done through liquid staking, maybe implemented on a smart contract instead of being implemented on a system smart contract. So that's just what I want to add to the discussion.
Okay. So yeah. So what you just to make sure that I understood, this is a recommendation more at the liquid staking level, that the liquid staking protocol should be offering this feature instead of the system staking
Yeah,
contract.
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
If there are any liquid staking providers here in the room with us, which I know there are some, I'll this is a feature request from the community. We'll definitely think about it on our side as well to see what the implications are. But I would not name the liquid staking providers to put more too much pressure on them.
Some of them are even speakers.
Actually, I already have this feature implemented, so I'm waiting for the others to take the microphone.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Congrats to that. Yeah. Cool. I see 5 more minutes left. Any other questions?
It might not be related to a validator's call, but I was wondering, when will sovereign shards come online?
I think with respect to that, we will have an updated version and xDay with some more updates, and maybe just some disclaimers. There's a secondary stage at or secondary track xDay that we're working on with which should bring a lot more technical discussion. So it should be a technical track as much as possible with respect to the technical workshops and keynotes from different new products coming up to the net inside the network or to the ecosystem. And with respect to that, I think also we're aiming to have a demo on how to spin up Sovereign, at least an alpha version of the Sovereign on stage. So we'll aim for that, hope for that, and once we'll see where we are and so forth, that will be the next steps.
Realistically speaking, we have a few months more to code, like really a lot of code in some of the places, but we aimed for, and I think that was in one of Benjamin's blog post, that we aim for Q1 2024, beta release of Sovereign Shard, which would contain all the features and the bridge function directly in the with the Sovereign consensus. So that's what we are aiming for.
Will it actually be?
Yes, like other features or other stuff, when people want to build, they will be able to do it and have access literally probably after the xDay, as we have to prepare a few more things around that. But then it will be much more like bare bone without an actual SDK or config or stuff like that. You will have to enter a little bit more deeply.
So if my understanding is correct, it will be similar to a layer 2 blockchain?
Yes, similarly, it would be a layer 2, but with big differences, in the sense that layer 2, in general, all the funds are protected in by a multisig of 3 out of 5, 2 out of 3, 7 out of 10, which is sadly. In case of sovereign shards, validators on the sovereign, all the validators on the sovereign, will not only validate what happens on the sovereign, but will execute and validate what happens on the bridge as well, with BLS multi-signatures. And they will be obliged to follow whatever happens on the mainnet, and the main chain will give the final finality of the sovereign. So that's a little bit like technical details, but it makes the paradigm is completely changed, because if you have a sovereign shard with 100 nodes, all those nodes and all the consensus is involved in the bridging, not only multisig. And no multisig can steal funds from the main chain. No, everything is BLS code related and validity proofs related.
Thank you.
Cool. I think at least from my side, I need to jump on the next calls. There's the schedule continues on my side for at least couple of hours until the until xDay every day. So I need to jump out.
Okay, so 2 more hours until the break, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much for being here with us. Actually, we've just Mark. If there are
Thank you.
no more questions, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for your time, for your questions, for your patience, and I really again encourage you to participate in the governance, in the discussion in Agora as soon as it's published. And if anybody wants to say anything else for closing.
Thanks a lot. See you. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining. Thanks a lot for your patience following us. I know how hard must be 2 hours to listen for whatever those guys are building and follow through. Appreciate that. Appreciate your patience again and all your support. Keep helping other validators also. Share the information that keeps us going as always. Also, maybe if you want to prepare any threads, run them by us to encourage the community or explain a bit how the changes would affect them and so forth would be very appreciated. Highly appreciated all the support and talk to you soon. See you at xDay.
See you on Agora.
See you on the other side, Agora.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Jan. Congratulations Sophie, for pushing that button. And next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.